ever faced a challenge that seemed hopeless, yet you think that you have the power to change your life for the better no matter the obstacles you face? Well, if so, then you're in the right place. I'm your host, Alethea Felton, and welcome to the Power Transformation Podcast, where we explore the incredible true stories of people who have overcome adversity and created meaningful lives. So, prepare to be inspired, equipped, and empowered, for the time is now to create your power transformation. Hey y'all, thanks again for joining me for another episode of the Power Transformation Podcast. I am so happy that you have joined me today. And if you are new to the podcast, I welcome you with open arms, for you are now a part of the Power Transformation Podcast community. So go ahead and follow or subscribe, give a 5-star rating, write a review, and let as many people as you know about this movement that we are making here on the Power Transformation Podcast. I have the best guests ever, and today is no exception to that rule. I am so excited to interview this person, so I want to jump right on into it, and you will definitely know what I mean after you hear his interview. I always begin this podcast with an affirmation because there is power in words, and I do believe wholeheartedly and have lived it that what you speak will come to pass as long as you put the actions behind it, whether good or not so good. But on this podcast, we only state good, life-giving affirmations. I'll say it once and you repeat it. I remain aligned with faith, hope, and love, no matter the obstacles I may face. I am so excited today to have yet another amazing guest on the Power Transformation Podcast. And this is none other than someone I have known literally since childhood, but he has a transformative story and is going to give you something that will empower you as well. This is Lonnie Whitehead, real estate broker. He got a big old title now, so excited about that. But Lonnie, welcome to the Power Transformation Podcast.
Hi, Alethea, sorry.
That's
Thank you, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you so much. And y'all, look, I'm gonna make this lighthearted because he was trying to get himself right prior to this interview. He knows my name. We've been friends forever. So him saying Alethea's never called me that. He knows my name, y'all. So I don't want y'all saying, why in the world did he jack up her name? He knows me well. Well,
I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna call you Lily. That's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah. Look, I've had guests to actually do that, so it's totally okay. But Lonnie, I'm so glad to have you. And you being a real estate broker, we are going to talk about that. But what I want to do first is I always kind of ask every guest a random question, nothing uncomfortable, something fun and lighthearted, just to kind of break the ice and for us to get to know you better as a person first. So this is the random question. You can answer it any which way that you want to. But Lonnie, this is your question. Actually, it's going to be pretty easy for you. But Lonnie, what is your perfect after meal dessert, sweet, something that you either like to eat or make?
Ooh, well, I have a huge sweet tooth. So that's a great question. I'm going to keep it simple and say cookies and ice cream.
Why is that? Tell us more.
So I love cookies, chocolate chip cookies, one of my favorite. And I always like a combination of dessert. So I like the contrast of like fresh baked cookies with cold ice cream. You put the ice cream on the cold cookies. So it's the ice cream starts to melt just a little bit, so it kind of gets soft as you're eating the cookies with ice cream. So
Mm.
that's kind of my perfect combination, like to eat after a meal. Cookies are quick to bake. It doesn't take. It's not a long baking process like some other things. Um, Cake, if you want fresh baked cake, it's going to take a little bit longer. So I do love cake though. So,
Mhm.
but I'm gonna go with cookies on this answer. Cookies and
And
ice cream.
I appreciate that answer because I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who love sweets as well. And what is so commendable about you is that you are athletic, you're still in great shape, and you exercise regularly. And so, therefore, you eat sweets in moderation, but you also know you are going to end up working it off. And so, that helps a lot. And so, y'all, if you have that sweet tooth, it's cool if you want to eat that, but please do something to counter it and balance it out. But thank you, Lonnie. Thank you for that. So, the next question, a standard question that I ask all guests, very simple yet profound. Lonnie, who is Lonnie Whitehead?
Well, let's see. I have evolved over the years, so it's more on who is Lonnie Whitehead today.
Mm.
So Lonnie Whitehead today, as you know already, I'm a real estate broker. I'm a father. I'm a brother. I am a close friend and supporter of my friends that are that need me in certain times. I'm dependable, so I'm always going to be there.
Mhm.
Um, so I think if you say who I am, I'm many people to too many people essentially. Um, but at the end of the day, I'm also, and more importantly, I'm a child of God.
Mm.
And so everything that I do, I want to reflect on God in some form or fashion. So, like, for example, in my real estate career, real estate can be a lucrative business, but for me, it's not about the money, it's about helping people. So, when I have a client that's looking to buy a home, I'm trying to really listen to what they need, what they want, and help them first and foremost. Everything is going to come back to me to benefit me later down the road. So I prioritize what does my clients need, from a buyer standpoint. From a seller standpoint, same thing. What do they need? Not everyone that's selling a home is going to be looking at making a ton of money off that sell. There are some people that have to sell because of divorce they're going through or some other financial reasons. So in some situations, people really need help to guide them through that process of selling their home. It could be a home of a loved one that they have lost that they need to sell that home. So it's just helping them through the entire process.
Mhm.
That's what it comes down to me is helping people. In my real estate profession, it's helping people first.
And I really appreciate that response because people can often see it as, oh, he's just doing this to make money. Yes, that's part of the benefits and the rewards of your hard work. But when you have a focus to make it greater than yourself and to help other people, that's when the abundance and the blessings are really showered on you. And we are going to touch more on that because some people might wonder, okay, why do you have a real estate broker on the Power Transformation podcast? The same reason I've had a financial expert, the same reason I've had a personal trainer, the same reason I've had people who have lived with and survived cancer. It goes on and on. And it's because we all have a story to share and we all have something about ourselves that has led us to this path. So I want to kind of take it back a little bit before we get into the heart and core of how you help people and how people can be empowered through what you do. But kind of take us back. You're a real estate broker now. I've known you since high school, but you don't necessarily have to go back that far. But tell us a bit about your journey. Did you wake up one day after high school or even during high school and said, this is what I want to do? What led you to this field?
Well, I think it was a couple of things. I've always had a entrepreneurial or business desire from a very young age. It became more prominent probably while I was in college. I mean, I tried different things going through college business wise. Like I remember doing a like multi-level marketing program, where you're selling these products,
Mm-hmm.
whether like, you're selling like home internet service, these different internet services that were run off the back of other internet companies, from like
Mm-hmm.
deregulation and stuff. So I
Yes.
remember doing that. I remember doing life insurance when I was in college as well. Um, Selling legal services. It was like a program for like that as well. So I've always kind of had that business mind and entrepreneurship, but it didn't really stick until real estate. And real estate was something that came later of me wanting to do something that would kind of catapult me forward in a way to retire early, kind of can
Mm-hmm.
write set your own schedule, and there's no ceiling on how much you can make. It's kind of the effort you put in and that, and so on and so forth. So that's kind of where it came about of, okay, what can I do to really catapult me to an early retirement and kind of control my schedule and control my life, in the sense of it was teaching me things also just about life that would help me financially, help me organize myself, get myself on track, when it comes to that aspect, and also things that I could pass on to my family, that would help them. Everyone has to live somewhere for the most
Mm-hmm.
part, right? You have to have a roof over your head in some capacity. And so whether the economy is up or down, there's still going to be real estate. Yes, we had a housing crash, right? But
Mm-hmm.
there still was real estate trading hands, and so that's kind of what led me into it.
Mm-hmm. And one thing about you too is, along with this desire for you to want to help others, that's something that has always been a part of you. But I want to ask you this. I know that you're very close with your sisters, and also you were very close with your parents as well. Tell us a bit about what values your parents instilled in you that you still carry on to this day, even in your profession doing real estate.
Well, let's see. My father was very important in my life. He really taught me a lot of great values on being a father, being a man, and I saw how he helped people. He was retired when I was born. My dad was retired. Okay, former
Mhm.
military, um, World War II veteran. So he retired before I was even born. And so even though he was retired, he was still always working and doing things and helping people. I mean, I remember he would be helping someone, he would repair their car, he would fix their car. And I don't
Mhm.
mean fix like, a little, oh, let me fix your radio, or I mean, he would take engines apart, put them back together.
Wow.
Um,
Yeah.
he could do, I remember back then you could actually go buy Freon from the auto parts store or from like your Lowe's or Home Depot, whatever it was back then. So you could actually buy Freon and do your own refrigerant, especially if you knew what you were doing. And my dad actually did have that certification. And so he would be fixing people's air conditions in their car and their home. He just was doing it all. And I would see that. And he would actually take me with him sometimes. And I didn't appreciate it as a kid. I'm like, oh my goodness, I got to go with him. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just kind of passing
Mhm.
them tools or whatever. But that showed me, it kind of, I guess, set me up for later in life, of having that desire to do the same, to help people. Because I would be there too and see the transaction as far as money changing hands. And a lot of times he would even tell people, oh no, don't worry about it. I'm not charging anything. Because some of the people would help, they weren't like well off. And so he would sometimes just do it just to help them. And they still would give them a little something, they didn't give them what it was worth. I learned like how much it costs to do certain things. And just seeing that taught me that it's not always about the money. It's about helping people because you get a return for your soul, when it comes to that stuff. Just the feeling you get of helping somebody, knowing that they need it, is a much better feeling in a lot of cases versus always looking for, some money in return.
And I even remember when your dad, sometimes he would come up to the school, even if it was to pick you up early or to bring you something, he had a presence about him. And, it's so refreshing to know that all of these years later, you're able to apply certain things that he instilled in you to your life to this day. What about your mom? What did she instill in you that you still see that you carry on specifically in your role as this real estate broker?
Well, I'll tell you, my mom, she really was kind of the glue with the family in the sense of like keeping me and my sisters close. Me and my sisters are close to this day, as you mentioned. And she was kind of that glue. And she also taught me from me just being around her and observing her. She would pray a lot. She was always praying for us, not that we were getting in a ton of trouble.
Yeah.
But she just was always praying for us. And she would, call and be like, how are you doing? Just checking on you, praying for you every day. And so seeing that, hearing that, it made me realize as I got older, I need to do the same. I need to not be so busy with life that I forget to pray, for other people, right? It's not just about praying for myself, but I need to pray for other people that may need it. Even if I don't know what they need, just pray for them. And so because my mom did that, she prayed for us. She showed me that she prayed for us and for other people as well. That became a part of my life now. Who I am is making sure I pray for other people.
Wow. And so, one thing that really stands out is this concept of family, unity, togetherness. And when I think about real estate and all of the intricacies of that, of course, people automatically kind of default to buying a house. It's far more than just that, although that's one of the main selling points. And of course, buying a home is an experience that's supposed to be special, celebrated, and a lot of families buy homes so that they can create and build a future. In thinking about, Lonnie, where you are now, tell me about different roles you had in terms of, yes, you did entrepreneurship in college, but was there somebody in the real estate industry that introduced this to you, that gave you some type of an inkling to say, this is what I want to do? Was it that you had purchased your own home and said, this is what I want to do? When did you have that aha moment to say, you know what, I'm going to try this because I really think this could be quite fulfilling for me? When was that shift?
Yeah, that's a good question. So there wasn't someone that really brought me into real estate. It was me thinking and probably really God leading me is the best way for me to describe it. But there's two prominent people in my real estate career that I have to really give credit to. So when I first got started in real estate, I didn't know what company I was going to work for and all that kind of stuff, right? I just was like, I'm going to take these classes, take this exam, get my license and put it somewhere. I did my license through or class through Long and Foster. They offered the course. It was cheap at the time. The market was crashing. So the course was cheap then. I don't know how much it is now because this was years ago when I did it, but it was less than $100.
Wow. Oh my gosh. You jumped on that at the perfect time.
Yeah. So I did the course, got past class, did the exam for the license right away. And one of the things in that class, the teacher mentioned, she just kind of gave us some stats and said, listen, out of this class, 90% of you are not going to take the real estate exam. You're going to pass this class and you're not going to have anything to do with real estate. So that only left 10% of us that were going to potentially take the exam. Out of that 10% that was going to take the exam, about 50% would pass the exam because we probably would have signed up for the exam right away. Okay, the other 50% probably would sign up for the exam later after the class, and it becomes more challenging trying to retain all that information. But anyway, out of the half that actually take the exam and pass it, you have another like 25% or so that are going to fail out of the business in that first year.
Wow.
And just hearing those stats, I just was like, I don't want to be in that statistic going the opposite way. I have to be in the statistic of, perseverance. I need to make it through. And so that kind of stuck with me as I was going through my real estate journey. It was hard. It was difficult. And so I remembered, I can't quit, can't give up. No matter how hard it gets, I got to keep pressing forward. And so that's what I did. But I was fortunate because when I first started with Long and Foster, that's where I decided to put my license. There was this one agent that really kind of brought me under her wing, Jennifer McKenzie. She brought me under her wing, and we were a team. And so that really kind of helped me learn being a new agent, certain things. And so because I was doing that under her and learning, it kind of gave me some support. A lot of new agents, that's what they need. They need some support when they get started so that they can be successful. And so Jennifer gave me that support to help me be successful. Okay. Wow. Then you fast forward, I actually left Long and Foster and went to a smaller brokerage, a boutique brokerage. It was actually, the brokerage was Powerhouse Realty. Okay.
Oh, I've heard of that. Yes.
And so that brokerage, actually my friend's father-in-law, he's the one that really kind of catapulted me forward into real estate and really being successful, because I was actually going to be taking a break. Like after Long and Foster, it was so difficult and so tough. I was like, you know what? I need a break from this. So I was going to take a break. But he actually talked to me and said, listen, put your license under me. I'm going to show you how to really do this business. I'm going to really help you learn the right way so that you don't get tripped up. And so when I put my license under him and started working with him, that was really what catapulted me forward. Paul Wallace. Wow. He's one of the main reasons that I'm successful today. So I have to give credit to Paul Wallace.
Wow. And what's so powerful about that is that both of them didn't have to pour into you like how they did. And it's the fact that they were selfless enough to help you, and the fact that you still give credit, that speaks volumes, because it shows that you have the humility to say, I didn't get here all by myself. Yes, God guided me, but people helped me and poured into me. And I want to go back just a little bit, because I think this is so powerful and so extraordinary in a sense to hear all of those statistics about the amount of people that don't make it or won't make it. Life continues to life even during all of this, when you're taking the tests, when you're studying, when you're taking the classes. So in addition to focusing on that, you still had to earn income. You were still doing everyday life, doing things to help your life, to help your child. being involved with your family. Lonnie, with all of these other influences happening, tell me about on the days when it got really, really tough. How did you push through it to say, absolutely not? I must continue to do this because the vision is so great that I cannot absolutely give up.
Well, it really ties back to just remembering those stats that the teacher was telling me about, and I
Mm-hmm.
was like, I can't succumb to giving up. I have to be in that positive side of, hey, you know
Mm-hmm.
what? I got to push forward. I know it's going to be tough. I was warned, right? During the class, we got that warning. It's going to be
Mm-hmm.
tough. And so that helped me to really push forward.
Mm. And of course, along with your faith too, really helped you keep going. Now, we said earlier, real estate broker. Okay. I didn't want to ask that question up front because I wanted to lead toward this, but we know how the market is today. If we've been watching the news, we're hearing all about, interest rates and cost of homes and this group of people saying, okay, maybe you shouldn't buy right now. Others saying, yes, go ahead and buy. It's so much going on. And before we get into that, in terms of talking about why it can still be beneficial, what exactly, Lonnie, is a real estate broker? We've heard realtor, real estate agent, but what distinguishes you as a broker?
That's a great question. So, okay, a couple things. So, realtor, let me touch on that really quick. Realtor is really a fictitious term. Okay, it's made up
Oh,
by the National Associations of Realtors. And
wow.
so that they trademark that term and they essentially have that they offer services and this membership to real estate agents, real estate professionals across the nation.
Hmm.
And with that comes some benefits. So being part of that organization, the National Association of Realtors, being part of that organization, there's some benefits you get as a professional, whether it comes to training that they offer, different services that they may offer as well. So there's benefits to it.
Hmm.
And within that, there's also smaller organizations. So in this area, in the Washington, D.C. metro area, um, you don't have to, but depending on your brokers that you're with, they may be a member of the National Virginia, Northern Virginia Association of Realtors, NVAR. Okay. So because I'm actually with Keller Williams,
Hmm.
KW Metro Center, they are a member of NVAR, National Virginia Association of Realtors. So any agent or broker under Keller Williams has to also be a member of NVAR.
Okay.
Um, so realtor, to have that term, to use that term, you need to be a member of the National Association of Realtors, which I am. So I can use that term. I typically use real estate broker because real estate broker is uh, it shows that one, I have experience and have been in this business a while because
Mm.
there are requirements to become a real estate broker. You can't get your license initially and be a real estate broker right off the bat. You have to have some years of experience in the industry. And after the years of experience, you also have to have with that education. There's a course curriculum that you have to go through
Hmm.
to become a real estate broker in your jurisdiction. Now, after you become a real estate broker in whatever jurisdiction you're, using your license, there is reciprocity. So then you can become a broker in other jurisdictions, other
Oh,
states, and
wow.
territories, because DC is a territory.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, so real estate broker, just what it is, what is that? How do I, how does that distinguish myself? That means I have experience in the business. So you can trust that I've been through a lot of different scenarios and transactions. So whatever problem you have, I'm going to be able to get you through that, real estate problem or issue that we may have. That's going to make the transaction as smooth as possible given the situation.
And also, when you said that you have to take more courses and education in it, it almost seems like it's as if when a person has a bachelor's degree and then they decide to get a master's degree, and it's almost as if every round goes higher and higher. But I thank you for distinguishing that, because I didn't know exactly what the difference was, and even for the knowledge and the insight you gave us in terms of saying realtor. Now, just for my clarification, is a real estate agent and a realtor and broker all similar? So realtor is a fictitious name. So outside of that, it would be a real estate agent, correct?
Right. So I guess the easiest way to kind of try to show the connection is real estate agent is what you need to be to actually practice real estate.
Okay.
Okay.
Makes sense. Okay.
However, once you are a real estate agent, you can decide to join the National Association of Realtors or
Realtors.
not,
Okay.
right? You can say, you know
Yes.
what? I don't want to be a part of NAR. I just want to practice real estate. So you just will be a real estate agent. You can't use the term realtor.
Okay.
But if you're a real estate agent and you say, I want to be a part of NAR, you pay the membership fee and do whatever training they require. And now you can say, I am a realtor.
Got you. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Now,
Real estate broker is
mhm.
obviously the experience and then whatever courses you need.
So, Lonnie, let's keep it really real right now, okay? You know my story and history when it comes to property ownership, and I'm a big proponent of it. Bought my first house when I was 23 years old, and I'm always pro home ownerships. Nothing wrong with renting. I will tell people that off of the gate. Nothing wrong with that at all. Have a place to live. So that's not what I'm saying. However, I'm seeing more and more on the news and articles, just a bombardment of different things about this big debate as to whether or not people should buy or not. Now, with this being the Power Transformation podcast, yes, I want to talk about the power of property ownership, benefits of owning it, but also what's really real right now in terms of the market. Suppose there's a person out there listening who says, I would like to buy a home or even sell a home. What's happening right now factually in terms of the market? Is it generally bad everywhere? Is it good in most places? What's happening right now?
That's a tough question. It's bad and good. It just depends on where you are and the specific, opportunities that are in that area. I can only speak on, this area because this is where, the DC metro area is where I focus my business on. In this area, it's not bad, but it's also not good. And what that means is, I know it's kind of like, well, how can it not be
exactly,
bad,
Lonnie?
not be good, right?
What you talking about?
So this is what I mean. Okay, if you are a seller, it's not bad, but if you're a seller, it's also not good because you may not get the price that you really want for your property, right? If you rewind back a year or two, people were getting multiple offers on properties.
Yes.
Almost every seller, for the most part, was getting multiple offers. Now, you're not seeing as many multiple offer situations. You are getting one offer and it might not be at asking price. So there could be more negotiation going on. So from a seller standpoint, you don't want a lot of negotiating. You want your asking price, right? So that's what I mean by it's not bad, but it's not good. You're still getting an offer. You're still going to be able to sell your home, but you may not sell it for as much as you would like to sell it for, especially if you see that your neighbor sold their home for 50,000 over asking price last year. You may want that also, but you may not be able to get that now. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but in some areas of the DC metro area, there still is multiple offer situation.
Mm-hmm.
Just a couple weeks ago, there was one specific property that I submitted an offer on for a client, and there was multiple offers in that situation.
Wow.
Okay. So it doesn't mean that there aren't any. It's just not as many multiple offer situations right now as it was before. So from a seller standpoint, not good, not bad. From a buyer standpoint, same thing. It's not good, it's not bad. What does that mean? There's less inventory on the market right now. So if you're a buyer looking, yes, there are properties, but there's not a lot. So you may not see what you really want. And when you
Mm-hmm.
do see what you want as a buyer, there could be multiple offers on that property.
Mm-hmm.
And there might not be. It depends. So you may see it and say, oh, wow, okay, I see this property. I really like it. Let's put in an offer. Let's ask the seller for closing costs. Well, guess what? You might not get closing costs from the seller, and you might have to compete with another offer. So you got to submit a strong offer. Okay. Now, there's some opportunities out there for buyers to get properties with closing costs and below the asking price, but they have to be willing to either do some work on the property or compromise in other areas. So it really just depends. There's still some deals, but just not as many.
Lonnie, tell us about and I really appreciate all of that knowledge, and hopefully people who are in that precarious situation of maybe wanting to sell or wanting to buy really took some notes on that, or at least will play this back. But talk to us about a general story, of course, keeping your clients' confidentiality, but share with us something that comes to mind when you think about a seller or buyer that you helped with their search or with selling their home, and how what you did to help them really change their life in a really great way. Because I say that because sometimes people might just say, oh, yeah, they're just buying a house just to buy it or selling it just to sell. It's a deeper experience in a lot of ways. Tell us about a client in that situation that stands out where you really help change their life.
Okay, I got a bunch of stories, but
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell one story. So I had a client that needed to sell their home. They were going through a divorce situation,
Mm.
and so given that they were kind of in a situation where the house had to be sold, and at that time where the market was, this was going to potentially be a short sale. Okay. And what a short sale means is that the home is going to sell for less than what they owe to the bank,
Mm-hmm.
okay, to the mortgage company. Um, and so those situations are a little bit tough, right? Because I have two clients that I'm dealing with, right, that are no longer one unit. So I'm having to deal with both of them really separately. And having to navigate the real estate transaction because they may not agree on the terms of a contract that comes through. So you have to kind of get them to agree, as well as trying to get that buyer who submitted an offer on your client's property to all agree. So you really are having, three or four separate people, depending on if it's a couple buying and a couple selling that's not together. But
Mm-hmm.
long story short, I was able to help them with that sale. It was difficult, but was able to help them with the sale, given that the market wasn't like hot. It wasn't a hot market at that time of the year. some years back. So I was able to get that property sold. You fast forward a couple of months. Well, one of the clients had another home that they wanted to sell, but they weren't sure if they were going to sell it. And they kind of let too much time go by, and the bank was actually going to foreclose on the property. And so we both had a mutual colleague, and they were like, "Why didn't you tell Lonnie about this property?" You know, at the time she was like, "Well, I wasn't sure, da da da." And so he was like, "You need to reach out to Lonnie now." So she reached out to me and she told me, and I said, "Okay, well, let me see what I can do. I mean, this is a little late in the game. They've already started foreclosure proceedings, but let me see what I can do. You have to authorize them to talk to me, because they're not going to talk to me unless you authorize." So I talked to the bank. They said, "Okay, we'll let you sell it. We will, kind of pause foreclosure proceedings per se. We'll give you an opportunity to sell it, but it's got to be sold quickly." And I said, "Say no more." I get it on the market, get the photos, all that kind of stuff. Get it under contract quickly, and we're moving towards getting the property sold. Now, I'll tell you I don't have to tell you how some of these banks operate, how they don't operate in the most ethical way.
That's right.
And so I'll say, even though I got the property under contract, we were literally days from settlement. The bank still auctioned off the property.
Oh my gosh.
Now, here's the thing, okay? The bank auctioned off the property without really informing me, the listing agent, the owner, and the bank made a mistake. And so here's where you can see God working. They auctioned the property for the first mortgage, and they forgot about the second mortgage that was on the property. So this investor that bought it dirt cheap. And was excited, and the investor called me, and the investor said, "Hey, I just bought the property that you're listing." I'm like, "What do you mean you just bought the property that I'm listing? Property, we're about to go to settlement." And he was like, "Well, that's what I'm calling about. I bought the property at auction. They auctioned the property off." And I'm like, "How did that even happen?" And he legitimately bought the property. I called the bank to verify this, and they said, "Yeah, we auctioned off." And I'm like,
wow.
"You all knew we were going to settlement. Why would you do this?" "Well, we needed to sell it." I said, "Okay." So the investor wanted me to sell the property to the current buyer that I had under contract. And again, my client is getting the short end of this, because they foreclosed on this client that was about to sell it without having to have that, right? And so I'm like, this is not good. So I had to call my client to let her know. And I said, "I'm still trying to work something out. This happened, but hopefully we can work something out. I'm not sure yet. I'll keep you posted." Well, the bank called me back, and the bank was like, "Hey, we made a mistake. We sold the property too low, and so we're trying to see how we can correct it." The investor who was actually buying it from me as a listing agent, not the one that bought it at auction, he found out too, and he said, "Wait a second. So this guy bought it at auction. He's trying to buy it. He's trying to buy it now through me." And he said, "No, I don't want it. I'm not going to buy it. I'm not going to pay that investor the same amount of money I'm buying it now, because I know what he bought it for. I know he bought it for the first mortgage." And so it actually hurt the bank. And so now this investor doesn't want to buy the property at the sale price that we were at, the higher price. Okay. So now the bank was begging me to work this deal out with the current buyer so that they could get it off their books. And so I actually was able to still hold the deal together.
Wow.
The investor, the original buyer who we had, got it for a little bit less because the bank made an error. But at the end of the day, we still were able to sell it and save the client from having that foreclosure on their mark. The bank had to kind of retract that foreclosure to that investor and sell it out back to the contract that we had in play. So, she thanked me, over and over for that, because it was just a situation that she didn't want to be in. She
That's
didn't know how to handle
incredible.
it. And she did
Yeah.
say she wished she would have reached out to me sooner. But you know what? I still do my best to try to work things out. And that's one of those situations that I was able to work out. So I know that was a long story, but
That's all right, because that was incredible. That's an incredible story. I've never heard anything like that. Wow.
yeah. Well, that's what I mean. Being a broker, you go through all these different scenarios. So
Mm-hmm.
I can help people in any situation, even if they think no one
Yeah.
can help them or it's too bad of a situation. I can definitely help people in every situation.
Mm. And our time is coming to a close soon, but I want to ask you this, Lonnie. Suppose there's somebody listening right now, specifically from the standpoint of wanting to buy a property, and maybe they've never bought a property before. They've never bought a home before, but want to buy a home, but are saying, I don't know, it's kind of iffy. I'm not really sure. I have funds that I can put towards it, but I just don't know if it's a good investment. What would you tell them to help guide their decision? What are about 3 or 4 things you would say to them directly?
So the key points for someone to think about if they're thinking about buying is, one, how much are they paying right now for their living, for their rent? If they're renting, how much are they paying for their rent? And if they want to buy, how much would their mortgage payment be given their situation, of depending on what their down, how much money they have for their down payment, and if they possibly might need closing costs to go with that, because then that will help them decide, you know what, I'm paying this much in rent. I have this amount in cash that I can put down on the home. So I can purchase and it keeps my living situation the same financially, but then I'll actually get a return, because now you have that investment, that asset that you can, use to deduct, from your taxes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I would tell someone, is think about it from that standpoint. And if it doesn't make sense, if it's going to make your expenses astronomically higher, then it might not make sense to buy right now. You might want to wait until you either have a larger down payment, until interest rates adjust themselves, that might help you have a lower payment. So I have to look at each situation differently. But to kind of give you a general sense, it really just comes down to, does it make sense for them to buy based on their financial situation?
And what about the opposite spectrum? If a person was trying to sell their home or wanted to sell, but just aren't quite sure, what would you tell them on the opposite end?
It's a great question. And it really comes down to kind of the same thing, depending on their situation. If they're selling or thinking about selling, what are they going to do after? Are they going to
Mm-hmm.
buy? Right? Because they have to think, if I'm going to buy, where am I going to buy? Right? In the DC metro area, if you're going to sell and buy, does it make sense to do that? Because you're going to sell and then have to buy something that's really expensive as well, more than likely. If you're moving to maybe Texas, um, or Georgia, or somewhere where it's less expensive,
Mm-hmm.
then maybe it makes sense. You can sell your home here and maybe roll it right over into another home, and even have some money left over, depending on what you buy, in whatever other state. Or even in Virginia, you could be moving somewhere in like Southern Virginia and it's a lot cheaper, right? So it really just depends on their situation, on does it make sense to sell based on what they're trying to do, with the proceeds.
Lonnie, when you do this work, and I know that you said that it's really, you get so much fulfillment from helping people or pouring into them, giving them something that is going to bring them joy, etc. expounding upon it. But one of the closing questions, I just have a couple of more, but one of the closing questions that I want to ask you is this. I know that your son is very important to you. I mean, absolutely important to you. How does he help to inspire you to keep going on your entrepreneurial journey?
Well, other than thinking about having to pay for his college, no.
In just a few more years, because he's growing up
I know,
quickly.
right? I know. Well, he's a smart kid on honor roll and playing sports, so maybe he'll get a scholarship. But
Yeah.
in any event, what inspires me from, how does he inspire me? You know, I just, for me, it's looking back at my father. And
Mhm.
my father inspired me. As a child, I wanted to be like him. I wanted to be as strong as him. I wanted to be as tough as him. I wanted to, not have any fear the way that he didn't have any fear of anything. Um, just as a kid, he was, larger than life. I used to see him grab bees with his hand. I'm a little kid scared of a
Wow.
bee, and he'd be like, "I'm scared of that bee. What are you scared of that bee for?" And he'd grab the bee with his hand and squeeze it, and then open it and show me that he actually grabbed the bee and squeezed it in his hand. And I'm like, man. So, as a kid seeing that, like, he inspired me. I wanted to be like my dad, and so that's really what it comes back is me looking back at my father and saying I have to be an example to my son in the same way. I want my son to look at me and say I want to be like my father. I want to follow in his footsteps. I want to treat people with compassion like my father does. I want to um, be there for people like my father's there for people. I want to be there for my children the way that my father was there for me, right? So that's for me, it's not so much my son inspiring me, which he does, trust me. There's a lot of things that he does. He teaches me things, I learn from my son, but really it's looking back and just wanting to set that example, like my father set the example for me.
Wow. That is pivotal. And, you know, I'm sure that your son is watching you. And just to know that what your father gave to you can be given and even more enhanced in your son is absolutely remarkable. Lonnie, if a person wanted to connect with you, say that they are in the Washington, D.C. area, and they're saying, I really like what I hear. I'd like to connect with him, ask him some questions, or even maybe if they are out of state and are saying, I don't know the first part about connecting with a realtor in my area. How can someone connect with you, Lonnie?
So, a couple ways, and I think it's pretty easy. So, my website, dcandvahomes.com. Okay, it's very easy, I think. So, DC, like Washington, DC, the word and, VA, like the state of Virginia, homes, HOMES.com. So, that's my website. So, they can go there and they can contact me from the website. My number's up there, my email. They can also email me, which is my first name, Lonnie at dcandvahomes.com.
Perfect. And the closing question actually, prior to me asking this closing question, what I will say, audience, straight up, and I'll say to you, Lonnie, is that I hope and pray nothing but continued success and prosperity and abundance and everything over your life. And y'all, when I say he and I have known each other a long time, since my freshman year of high school, we were in chorus class together. And we had a friendship, and he was just always very authentic, a truly authentic person. But we even went to college together, ODU. But in term or Old Dominion, university, in case a person's like, what is that? ODU. But even outside of that, a couple of years ago, all of the years since the pandemic have run together, I will admit. But when when I was shifting in my life and I knew that God had been speaking to me about a lot of different things, I had reached out to Lonnie because I knew that I was starting to shift with certain things in my life. And so um Lonnie actually took me to look for a few properties in the Northern Virginia area because at that time that's where I thought I was going to move. What I appreciated about him was I shared with him more depth of my story in terms of the why. And one thing about Lonnie that I truly absolutely valued is the fact, Lonnie, you were never pushy, you were never aggressive. You saw me as just not a client, but as a friend, and really was trying your best to show me the right places. And y'all, he wasn't like one of those sneaky salespersons who got an attitude if you didn't want to buy at that time. It was truly about helping. So I'm talking about, as a person who I definitely consider myself a client, because, Lonnie is someone that while I haven't purchased property from him as of yet, I do know that he and I have had talks offline about other real estate goals I have, my sister has, etc. Even with a property that we have, my sister and I have. But my point is, when it comes to wanting a person with excellent character and integrity, Lonnie Whitehead, hands down, is that person. And he has consistently been like that over the years. And he is someone who is big on diversity, on helping everybody, and his clients are so diverse culturally, racially, ethnically. And that's what I also like to see, is that he is all about truly doing God's work and helping people become empowered through this venture. And so, Lonnie, that leads me to this last question: is who you are now in this realm as a real estate broker. What has this road and path you're on in this field taught you the most about yourself?
This has taught me that there's light at the end of the tunnel. You may go through some difficult times, not just business wise, but personally. Okay. I've gone through some difficult times personally in my life, and there's light at the end of the tunnel. No matter what you're going through, you just have to keep pushing forward. As long as you can breathe,
Mm-hmm.
and as long as you have the ability to move and communicate with people, you have to keep pushing forward. Don't give up. There's light at the end of the tunnel.
That was well said. And once again, Lonnie, I thank you so much, my friend, for being a guest. And I just continue to just hope nothing but the best for you. Thank you again. It was certainly an honor having you on the show. I am so grateful to Lonnie for giving of his time and expertise to this podcast. And again, if you are in the Washington, D.C. area, Northern Virginia, Washington, D.C. proper, as well as Maryland, reach out to him. But even if you're not, Lonnie is still available to help, and he has such an expansive network where he can connect you with the right person no matter where you are. So please make sure to connect with him. Let's go ahead and close out with This affirmation, I'll say it once and you repeat it. I remain aligned with faith, hope, and love, no matter the obstacles I may face. If you enjoyed today's show, then you don't want to miss an episode. So follow the Power Transformation Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you usually listen, and remember to rate and review. I also invite you to connect with me on social media at Alethea Felton. That's at ALETHEAFELTON. Until next time, remember to be good to yourself and to others.